Welcome to Comics, Games, and Collectibles, your zen of geekism. We carry comics old and new, magazines, toys, games like Pokemon, Magic, D&D. Want Godzilla, Ultraman, Star Trek, Ninja Turtles, Funko Pops? You'll find it all here. Shop our Cosmic Sound Room and pick up a record or two. Enjoy our Comic Coffee Lounge with a cup of Sasquatch coffee or a delicious menu item while geeking out over a super cool movie on our big screen. Come by and say hello to Maui. Cosmic Comic, Games, and Collectibles. Superman loves us, and so will you.
Aloha, Tiki Z here. Let me give a big mahalo mucho to everyone who has supported the continuing adventures of me and my friends over the past 10 years. We really appreciate you, and because of you, we are proud to present our most exciting adventure yet. The Tiki Zombie 10-year Tikiversary is currently in production by Michael Gordon and Peter Cutler. Behold the thrills as I race to become the winner of the Muga Valley Grand Prix. Join me and my crew as we visit the underwater city of the Myrmizons. This is our most ambitious issue yet, and we need your help to make it happen. Any pledges to this project will be handsomely rewarded, if I do say so myself. This book features 4 different covers by spectacular artists including Peter Cutler, Jazz Ingram, Jen Broomall, and Aaron Barabee. So come on and join the celebration of the Tiki Zombie 10-year Tikiversary. A big toast to you. Mahalo. Mahalo mucho.
And mahalo mucho to everyone here tonight. Welcome to the Critical Blast podcast. Tonight, part of the NSC Roadshow. So we want to give a shout out to them, which is why, of course, we get this thing right up here. Is changes, doesn't it, when we do that? So we want to give tribute to that, and make you aware of other creators who are out there doing crowdfunding who are part of the NSC Roadshow. Look that up, check it out. You're going to like it. It's a big thing out there for crowdfunded folk. With us tonight, we have Howdy Mike Gordon, the creator of Tiki Zombie. Welcome, sir.
Howdy and aloha.
How are you tonight?
I am peachy keen. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. It's an honor to be here.
Well, we're very glad to have you. And this is a new title to me. So, a lot of them are new titles because it's number one. It is we're starting something here. This is 10 years that this has flown under my radar. So I feel, as somebody who's been reading comic books for 50 years now, from age 4, do the math, you can figure that one out. I'm ashamed of myself for not knowing who the Tiki Zombie is.
Yeah, don't be. Look, I've been reading comics as just about as long as you have. And, it's amazing to me how many titles I still run across that have been around for a while. And, that's one of the challenges that independent creators like myself have. If you can't get your book nationally distributed, it's very, very difficult to get it out there among the masses. And, that's why one of the reasons why I decided to step up the game a little bit and do the Kickstarter thing, as well as really just see what I can do to get it out there, besides what regionally I've been able to do for these past 10 years.
Sure. Now, of course, crowdfunding, it's a whole new ball game now. The distributor fact, the LCS is kind of out of the picture unless they get in on these retailer tiers that we see. But we have an active chat out here tonight, waiting to learn more about Tiki Zombie. We have Mr. Mike Walters, Comic Talk with Pops Van Zant. Welcome, Pops. Lorenzo Sleestack is out there. We are loaded and ready to go. So, first of all, tell me a little bit about Tiki culture, because I know my LCS guy. He invited me to a Facebook group, which is this Tiki Lounge group that he's in.
Mm-hmm.
He's got he's got the Masters of the Universe Tiki cups, or maybe they're not called cups even. I'm completely culturally ignorant about Tiki. What I know about Tiki is Walt Disney. In the Tiki room.
Absolutely. I think that's where it started with me way back in the day. When my parents took me to Disney World, there were 3 rides that really made an impact for me. Of course, Haunted Mansion and Pirates of the Caribbean were the 2 obvious ones. But right at the start of Adventureland is the Enchanted Tiki Room. And that made an effect on me as well, in a good way. So, look, then they're all really very similarly placed in a similar area, like a small area of Disney World. So you can just stay on that like strip and go there all 3 rides. And so, it wasn't until I had the idea for the book, actually, and the idea for the title came first. And I was working with it. This was about, I don't know, 12 years ago, something like that. Once I had the concept of the book, I started to look into Tiki culture a little bit more seriously and go to Tiki bars and get involved with the community. And the more I found out about the Tiki culture, the fact that they liked, they like drinks, they like to have a good time. They like their aesthetic is really cool as far as the art that's usually associated with them. And the laid back culture, as well as the Ohana means family culture, the aloha spirit is just something that really I felt like, wow, I think I've been Tiki my whole life. I just didn't realize it.
So despite the fact that this is a Disney ride, Tiki is a place to go drink adult beverages.
Yes.
Out of wood.
Well, there's the Tiki mugs, of course. The first Tiki bars, well, we call them Tiki bars, yes. The first 2 started in the 30s over in California. Don the Beachcomber and Trader Vic's were the first 2 quote-unquote Tiki bars. And that started a revolution. And the Tiki culture, Tiki pop, became really big in the 40s and in the 50s, especially after World War II with all the soldiers coming back from the Pacific. Yes. And so there was a huge, just interest in all things Polynesian. That's when Hawaii joined the States. So you had this just big swell of just everything Tiki, and advertising and movies and TV. That's where the show Hawaiian Eye came from, as well as Hawaii Five-0. By the late 60s and into the 70s, it starts to die off again. And like everything else, it comes back. So around 25 years ago, people started getting nostalgic for that time period and opening more Tiki bars and experiencing that sort of thing. And it sort of has kind of grown ever since then as well.
Now, does the word Tiki have a meaning to it?
Yes. I mean, there is a strict meaning as far as, there's Tiki pop, which I think is what we call the movement that we see here in the States and other places, that kind of refers to that time period back in the 40s and 50s. But the actual lineage of that does come from the Polynesian islands. There are actual Tiki gods. And there's, I don't know if anybody has read Con Tiki, probably since they were in school, right?
Oh,
yeah, exactly. But that introduces the god of Tiki, the Tiki god that kind of traveled from and started creating and sort of dispersing the Polynesian culture throughout the islands in the Pacific there. So there is some lineage there, although we have to be careful because we don't want to really appropriate that stuff. But most of what's happening now is a reflection on the pop movement of, like I said, of the 40s and 50s, rather than taking anything directly from Polynesian culture.
Yeah, and like I said about my LCS guy, we're seeing Tiki mugs made of comic book characters now. They're being carved in that Tiki style. Masters of the Universe, Marvel superhero heads. It can all be made to fit.
Yeah, I've got a few behind me. I don't know if you can see them, but I've got sort of some geeky tikis right up here. There's over here. There's Batman and the Joker. Over here, there's Baby Yoda and regular Yoda and Jaws. So companies like Geeky Tiki and Mondo have really like kind of embraced this and sort of had a lot of fun with it as well. So it's become quite the pop culture thing. So now you can almost find almost anything as a Tiki mug.
And you decided to turn it into a comic book. Now, how did that come around?
Well, like I said, about 10, 15, well, it was about 12 years ago, I was attending my favorite convention on the planet, which is Dragon Con here in Atlanta. And there was the host of this particular party who runs the comic and pop art area there was having a Tiki party. It was Tiki themed. And there was a band playing, and they were kind of this goth rockabilly type band playing. And all I do remember from that band was that at one point the female singer was just screaming out the word zombie, zombie, zombie. And I just sort of looked around at all this Tiki culture that was behind me, all this Tiki stuff. And the two words just kind of connected with me. So ever since then, I was like, what can I do with this? Because I love the idea of mashing things together, things that maybe don't automatically feel like they belong together, but once you connect them, then you find similarities there that you wouldn't have found otherwise. So I decided to create a book, Tiki Zombie, to sort of do that. So it features characters that are merged together. Like I have one storyline has a vampire orangutan. Another story has some ninjas that are luchadors, some lucha ninjas, so to speak. I've got in the newest issue, I've got a story with a Mermazon. So she's part Amazon, part mermaid. And I just love the idea. And the stories, the way I'm writing them too, are a concept of a few different stories mashed together as well. And I just have a lot of fun with it that way. I created these characters, and I found an artist, a local artist here named Peter Cutler, who I always felt was outstanding. And I just didn't feel like he'd ever got a chance really to really show people what he could do. And he had the perfect style for what I was looking for, this sort of cartoony, old school Mad Magazine-ish kind of insane style. Yeah. And called him up and had him do some rough drafts of some characters, and the rest was history.
See, when I was looking at the art earlier, going over the campaign, I was getting a big Ed Roth, Big Daddy Roth vibe off of the stuff. I didn't know if that was intentional or if that was.
It is an inspiration. Tiki culture Tiki pop culture is also kind of linked with rockabilly culture and hot rod culture now. So the two do go hand in hand. And in particular, with this issue, I decided to do a Grand Prix, a racing car story, and so for one of the covers, I actually got a friend of mine who does Ratfink drawings. He's licensed as a Ratfink artist now to provide one of the variant covers, and it really looks, that's a Big Daddy Roth tribute, big time.
Very cool. So who is the Tiki Zombie, and how did he become that? Or is he just like, I'm the Tiki Zombie and I'm your host? I'm like Flaming Carrot. I am.
He is. There's some mystery behind him. I have an origin worked out that I'm going to tell that story one day, but it's a mystery. All that we know is that he has a wooden tiki for a head. He cannot die, or he is undead. Really, he's already dead. But sure. So he can't. He can't. Yes, he can't be. If you shoot him or whatever, he will live through that. Unfortunately, because it is painful for him, as well as it does leave a mark. So he doesn't have like really great healing skills. but yeah, he owns this lounge in an island called Muga Ballet. He has a crew with him that is made up of sort of a musician and bouncer, which is Tattoo Baloo, a big sumo wrestler kind of guy. He's got a waitress, and she is also a hula dancer, and martial artist. And he has this kind of weird shrunken head sidekick named Dawn that can't speak a single sentence without swearing.
Okay, so not a kid's book.
Actually, I do make it kid friendly because I use symbols for the swear words.
Oh, that's cool.
Absolutely.
My 14-year-old has graduated beyond the symbols, unfortunately. But when he was like 7 or 8, he would get angry, and we couldn't understand what he was saying because he would be like, he would literally say, $! Exclamation point. That's the weirdest Tourette's I've ever seen. But he had been reading the comic books and knew that those meant curse words, so he couldn't pronounce them, he just spelled them out, and then he figured them out.
I definitely take that school of thought, so I don't have the actual curse words. I use it to the readers to decide what he's actually saying. But
yeah, okay, that makes good sense. So I'm seeing Tiki Zombie issues 1 through 3. Is that what there was, or is there...
Yes, we came out with 3 issues, about a year or 2, more like 2 probably in between each one. As an independent creator, I could only really afford, with my little company called New Legend, we could only really afford to do one thing on one project at one time. So if we were working on Tiki Zombie, if we were inking it, then we couldn't do anything, so it was slow going. We've done some other books besides Tiki Zombie, including working on a graphic novel. We've published a graphic novel of the character Invisible Scarlet O'Neil. And we've done some anthologies as well. There's another book that we've done called Cryptozoa. So we've done a few books in our small history, but the Tiki Zombie one, we have these 3 books, and we did a soundtrack as well. We did an actual music CD that you can, the CDs are old school to people now. So if you go, you can stream it. You can stream it on all the streaming services. If you look up Tiki Zombie, you can find the music there. But that was fun to put together. And yeah, I really wanted to celebrate the 10-year anniversary with a new issue with new stories. So I decided that we would do 4 stories, because it's kind of the 4th issue, really. And each story would be represented with a different cover. So that the variant covers aren't just coming from nowhere. They're actually representative of each one of the stories in the book, and we're just having a lot of fun with it.
All right, so how big were these issues here that we're seeing 1 through 3? Because now, if somebody wants to just get everything, we're going to know how much enjoyment are we getting for the buck.
Each book comes with 2 stories and 1 sort of little mini story. So you're getting 3 stories, and the stories are about 8 pages of story, I think, a piece. So I decided very early on to keep it very simple. I figured if 4 to 8 pages was good enough for Will Eisner, it was good enough for me. So, and I think at the time I was thinking, we would progress to longer form stories eventually, but I just have so much fun telling these like quick little stories with, in 8 pages that, so we'll do 8 page, it'll be an 8-page story, and then a little tiny like 2-pager to break it up, to break it up, and then another 8-page story, and then there'll be some fun little things in the back as well. So I try to give people a lot of bang for their buck, and I think so far we've managed to accomplish that.
Okay, so I'm scrolling down here, and there's a rabbit.
There is he is a new character featured in this new issue. He is in the Muga Ballet Grand Prix racing story. He's a new character. He's called Rocky Billy Rabbit. And of course, he's sort of this hot rodder / the famous tortoise and the hare type. So he thinks he always should win, et cetera, et cetera. So he goes up against Tiki Zombie in the race and challenges him.
To be the Tiki and the hare.
The Tiki in the hair, exactly.
I like it. So let me. I'm gonna look at some of the tiers here. Yes, you can pledge without a reward. We skipped past that one really quickly. Not a lot to talk about there.
Yes.
I do admire the chutzpah of making it $10. But for $5, you can get the digital copy of the digital Tiki Zombie 10-year Tiki-versary special comic book.
That's correct.
So, it's an anniversary book that, good enough reason to pick something up, but you can get more than that, right? I mean, you can get these back issues.
Absolutely. We do have add-ons, and there's also some rewards that include those as well. And I should also point out, too, that these stories are not seriously connected in any way. So you can you can pick up any of the issues, and you will be on the same page as everybody else. I wanted to make sure they were all accessible. There's not like a mythology like storyline that goes through all of them or whatever. I just wanted to make sure that they were just fun stories that people could pick up and enjoy.
Man, I miss comic books that do that.
Don't you? I do too. I was like, I grew up on those, man.
I mean, in the 70s and even in the early 80s, it was like, didn't matter what the book was. Jonah Hex, Superman, Spider-Man. Right. Here was the overarching story. Chapter 1, they become the superhero. All this other stuff, read in whatever order you want, because stuff happened. That was their story. Stuff happened after they became a hero. So I truly appreciate that in a comic book. I hate Kickstarter when I'm presenting. Look at that green box. I'm trying to talk about the green box, and I put read behind the green box. For $10, folks, you can get yourself the digital copy and the print copy. So I know there's people in my chat who show up. They always ask, "Where's the digital? Where's the digital?" We've shown you the digital twice.
You get the digital with everything. Like, I'm throwing out the digital with it. When almost anything that you pledge, you're going to get a digital copy of something.
Excellent. Because there is a whole digital collection here.
Yes.
You've got now. Were these already PDFs 10 years ago, or did you turn them into PDFs for this campaign?
No, I mean, when I first printed the first issue 10 years ago, I had to, I created a PDF of the art and sent it into the printer. So the printer printed it right from a PDF. So yeah, PDFs have been around for a little while.
Life is going by so fast, Mike.
I know.
10 years ago. Yeah. Remember 10 years ago when Reagan was president and we used to have to dial phones? And
Yep. Before I printed the first issue 10 years ago, I actually printed a small sample, like a 0 issue. And I actually went through an old school printer to do that. It was on newsprint. I actually went to the print press and I saw them like do that, and they put the books on the pallet and everything. It looks so cool, but I was like, I'm not doing this again.
Let somebody else do this.
Yeah, it's like, it was really cool. And there's still some issues of some of those 0 issues floating around. I don't have too many of them myself, but they're still around, but they're made of newsprint. So, keep them safe and secure, seal them up.
Yes. Acid-free backing boards. And maybe I don't know if CGC is actually protection or not. I've never slabbed a book.
I've never had a book slabbed either.
It's against my religion, really.
You know what? And all the books that I have that I've gotten that have been slabbed, I crack them open because I want to read them.
Yeah, exactly. My only, I put them in a bag with a backer. I seal it with tape, and when I want to crack it open, the tape is sacrificed. Peel the tape off and throw it.
I understand that there is a collector's market with comics. I do understand that, but I look at comics as a genre, as a medium, and for me to enjoy, not to collect and flip and make money and everything. And I know that I'm not knocking the people that do that, because it's a really cool industry, and it's one that I've tried to understand every once in a while. But when it comes down to me and my collection, I just like to read them.
Yeah, and when it comes down to flipping books, for me, it's always, I'm like, buy high, sell the collection at wholesale. It doesn't quite,
doesn't work, right?
For this box of books, 37 cents a pound.
Yeah,
literally, that's my LCS guy is like, we're not going to look through it. It's 37 cents a pound. We don't have to count them that way.
Wow, that's fair.
Yeah. So, and they're all going to go in his, 50-cent dollar bin, whatever. Um, you have a Mermazon edition for $20. Is that a cover down here I can find?
Yes, if you scroll down, you'll be able to see the 4 different covers.
Okay,
So
we're going to stop. We're going to stop first because
okay.
what is this? What is
Okay.
this? This is too cute to not talk about.
All right. So a few years ago, my nephew Aaron wanted to. He knew that I did a comic book, and he had an interest in doing a comic book as well. So I told him that if he created a character and wrote and drew a story, I would publish it. And so he created a character called Super Cheese, which you see there on the left side, and I published 2 issues of Super Cheese comics, fighting, I think, Mozzarella Man, the villain. And they were great. They were great fun. I was really proud of him. And so for this anniversary, we decided to do a crossover. So he wrote and drew a story, a 3-page story with Super Cheese meeting Tiki Zombie. And that is that's a rendition of Tiki Zombie there on the right.
That's very cool. So how old is he again?
At the time, this was he was about I don't know, 10, no, maybe like earlier than that, because that was a few years ago, because now he's at an age where he's about to enter high school, which makes me feel really old.
I'm with you. It wasn't just a few years ago, the halcyon days. My boy was going with me to a con. I had my book set up to sell, and he's like, "I'm going to sell Mario and Princess Peach pictures." I'm like, "You go for it." Ruled paper, 3-hole punch. He outsold me. He made like $45 at a buck a piece.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like,
we have been to cons together. I did a couple of cons we have been to together, and yes, Super Cheese has outsold Tiki Zombie at those cons.
That it happens.
Yeah,
and it's so cool because you know what, those kids for the most part will remember that, and you're encouraging that next generation of creators to come in.
Anything I can do. I mean, it's a double plus good thing, right? Because on the one hand, I'm encouraging his creativity, and on the other hand, I'm helping promote comics. So it's a win-win.
Absolutely. So is this a cover at all? This is
yes, that is the standard cover. Now it's in black and white. Peter Cutler is still working on the coloring and finalizing it. It's going to actually be a wraparound cover. He's adding a lot of characters from the comic over the past 10 years and all the issues. He's going to have those characters appear probably on the wraparound part. But this is the main part of the cover that he's done, and that's penciled and inked.
And this is a lot of order. This is the Hot Rod copy.
Yeah, that's the Hot Rod cover, and that is by Jazz Ingram.
That's so Daddy Rod,
isn't it? Though it's so beautiful. Yeah, you should just check out his stuff. I think his handle is Captain Love Handles on Instagram and on Facebook. Check his stuff out. He does a lot of Rat Fink drawings, and then some other stuff that I can't quite describe. They're just so unique and so detailed. I mean, he's just so good.
Honestly, Mike, you should have this as an add-on, as a print.
You know what? In about a day or so, you're going to see that happen. All the covers are going to be available as prints.
Okay, good, because if any of them deserved it, this one deserved it. Now, this is this a scanning issue, or does it actually get drawn like it's an old poster with a crease in it?
No, I wanted it distressed. So we thought it'd be fun to have it distressed, and so he put that stuff in there. So yeah, it looks like it's actually been on the stands for a little while, or in someone's collection.
I love it. And well, now this looks like some more.
Yeah, this is Aaron's cover. So like I said, each one of the covers represents a story in the book. So this represents the crossover. So he did a cover for me as well.
He's getting his own cover. This is just as cool as that umbrella guy letting his 8-year-old daughter doing the artwork for the cover on his crowdfunding book, which was another case for The Littlest Umbrella for those who haven't read it, and it's a really good book. He's never going to forget this stuff. And here is our Mermazon.
Yes, that's Queen Mariana of the Myrmidons, and she actually made her debut in issue 2, but she returns in this issue as well. We actually go visit her kingdom in this issue. And Jen Brumall did the cover for that, and it's, gorgeous. I don't even need to say it out loud. It's just stunning.
Yeah, absolutely it is. This is I can't think of whose art style it is, but there's something, one of the Disney artists. Who's the female Disney artist? Mary Blair.
Yeah,
and
I can see that.
The concept paintings that she did.
Yeah,
in that face alone, there's a lot of character in that. So you can get the Myrmidon edition, or the Hot Rod edition, or the Super Cheese edition for $20 each. And you've got backers on all 3 of these things, and they're limited. Wait a second. What do you mean they're limited?
They're limited. The standard cover is going to be the cover that everybody can get. Even after the Kickstarter is over, I'm going to have some of those printed, and stores can get them and whatnot. But these special covers, I'm limiting. So yeah, we're limiting those. So you get them now, or you may not be able to get them.
Oh my goodness. Okay. How many days we got left on this? I sound like Jackie Gleason. How many days we got?
We got 9 days to go.
And this is Kickstarter, folks. This is not Indiegogo. You don't get another 30 days after the first 30 days.
No.
So 9 days, and Tiki Zombie is buried. So I'm scrolling a little further on the right. Okay, so here's the reward tiers if you want them in a nutshell.
Yes.
So you got the 1 through. We've done that. $30 for the Tiki Z's standard bundle. And this is,
so if you want to get all 4 issues standard wise, you get those 4 print copies, and of course the digital download as well. But that'll be
when we talk about number 4, that's the 10th anniversary issue there.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. And then of course there's a sketch cover. These are always a popular item.
Yep, sketch cover. Peters said he's willing to do a limited number of sketch covers, so I am going to print some of those so that he can sketch whatever Tiki Zombie character you want on them. So once the campaign is over, when we send out the surveys, you'll let us know which Tiki Zombie character you want on the cover, and Peter will do the one in a unique cover custom for you.
Okay, so what is the difference between the 1 through 4 print copy and digital download, and the all 4 editions print copy and digital download?
Well, Tiki Zombie 1 through 4 is the 4 issue, like the actual, so it's issues 1, 2, and 3 plus the Tiki Anniversary, and
the
then
standard copy of the 4th issue. Okay.
Yep. And then the $60 all 4 editions is if you want all 4 covers of the Tiki Zombie 10-year Tiki Anniversary special.
I am following. I'm a little slow sometimes. So.
No, it's okay. It's some of the stuff is
Yeah, because I've seen a lot of campaigns where things get written quickly, and you're like, okay, you realize this is almost like a legal contract once somebody backs it.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. Backers take their pledges really seriously, and I do too. I mean, I am very much honored that anybody wants to spend any sort of time and money on my project. So I treat these well as well. I mean, I don't do anything, and I don't price anything that I don't feel like I would get if I was in their shoes. I would get the money's worth. So
yeah. So for $100 you can get the original art.
Yep. So that I think the one of Torcahuna is already taken. He's a villain of the piece of some of the stories, and then he's an ongoing villain. And then the Rockabilly Rabbit original art piece is still available, I think.
Okay, and was there a symbolism to the CC here on the?
I think if I remember correctly, when I asked the artist Peter Cutler on that, I think he said it was like carrot cola or something like that.
Okay.
He was being kind of funny with it. So there's nothing that I associate with it. That was a sketch he did and a drawing he did on his own.
I just didn't know what it stood for, but I do see the carrot now, and I see the bottle. So yeah, that makes perfect sense. And it's one of those, God, I haven't seen in years. You open the door and pull the glass bottle out.
Yeah.
And nothing was more frustrating than when it would take your money and you would yank because you've got your hands on the soda you want. You can't let it go.
I had some battles. I had to battle some machines for some Yoo-hoo back in the day for those things, right?
Yes. And, you know, they had to eventually phase them out because kids got smart enough to realize, bring a cup and a bottle opener. And just, I saw it done. It was just like, you know, they would like leave a mess on the floor because their cup wasn't as big as the bottle, and it would just pour right out like a tap. Like, okay, steal my soda, you can have the bottle. Yeah, we were vicious little thieves. Not that I ever did it, but I did see it done.
Sure. Other people, right?
Other people. $200, you get an original page of art.
Yes.
So there's 16 of these available.
There will be 16 of those available, yes. And it's first come, first serve. So it will go in order of the people who have pledged. So the first person who is pledged for one of those, I think there's one backer on that already. So he'll get first pick of all 16 pages that Peter's done. And then we'll just go from there.
All right. So and
these are real, like Peter's old school. So he does his pages like pretty sizable, and they're beautiful. I mean, they're beautiful. His pencils are, I mean, he doesn't just leave things to his inks. I mean, he really goes all out. He's a very old school artist.
Yeah, that was exactly what I was going to ask. You know, is this digital or what have you? But yeah, it's because you can't sell digital.
No, you can't. No. But I was asking him about that too, and I'm like, Peter, are you ever going to go full digital? He's like, no. He does the inking and all the textures by hand as well. He just scans it in at the end and does a little bit of gray toning, and that's it. That's the only thing that he cleans it up a little bit, but pretty much that's all he does. Most of 90% of what he does is going to be manual.
Yeah, that's why, you know, I prefer physical comics over digital comics, because I can only get so many Sharpie signatures on the front of my Kindle device, and then it's like I can't read it anymore.
Absolutely.
And again, I'm not a flipper, but I am the kind of fan that likes to, you know, if there's a convention and I see a creator, I'm like, hey, I've got your books. Would you? Back in the days when you could walk up to creators and say, would you sign my book, and not have them say, where's your ticket? I told you I'm slow on this, but I just noticed the coolest thing about issue number 3, and you already know what I'm going to point out, is that he's sipping from this Tiki mug here.
Yep.
And the shadow, the way he's tilted, the shadow is Sherlock Holmes. Yep.
There was a story in that issue that was very much inspired by one of my favorite Sherlock Holmes stories. So I asked now this one is not done by Peter. That's the one cover that's not done by Peter Cutler. It was for the 3rd issue, and I asked he's a Tiki artist and of other things, but Robert Jimenez out of Florida. I asked him if he was interested in doing a cover for me, and he gladly accepted. And I told him my idea, and it was one of those things where I'm like, I don't know if this is going to work. And then he showed me the rough draft of it, and I was like, oh my God, it's beautiful. It works perfectly.
Yeah, because, you know, the way he's got his head tilted, you can almost see, the light would look like that if he. Yep.
Yeah, he did a fan-tiki-tastic job on that. It's one of my favorite images ever. I own the original piece of that, and because I bought it from him afterwards, and I don't think I'm gonna ever auction that one off.
No,
although we'll see how desperate I get. You know, no, it's okay.
Hang on to it. So you mentioned that you were at a convention when you got the idea for, you know,
yes,
Tiki and Zombie together here. So you've done other books in the past. This is not your sole process.
No, but Tiki Zombie was the first. Tiki Zombie, my small little company that we created, my cousin and I, when we decided to go the self-publishing route. We created a company called New Legend, and that was about 15 years ago. And this was the first book that we put out. So I had worked on some books with some small companies prior to this, but this was the first really big effort that I did. And once I did that, I was like, I'm just going to keep doing books for my own company. Certainly, if there's an offer, if someone wants to offer me a writing gig for some other books, I'd be glad to help out. I've helped out some other books with some lettering and editing and that kind of thing as well. But no, this company is for my pet projects, and his as well. I mean, he came out with, about a year after this, we came out with Cryptozo, which was his idea about a young girl who his family is in the circus. And they own a traveling circus, and they travel to places where there are reports of cryptids. And she searches them out, and if necessary, they seek haven in the circus, and she protects them away from people who would exploit them.
I like that concept.
That's a great book too, and we're getting ready next year. Hopefully, that's a 10-year anniversary next year for that. So we're hoping to bring that character back as well.
So what made you want to do comics? Because, as Jack Kirby said, comics will break your heart, kid.
They will. He wasn't lying, man.
Yeah. And as RJ Carter has said on his streams many times, crowdfunded comics is a great way to spend a few $1,000s to only lose a few hundred.
You're not wrong. I love comics. I've loved comics my entire life. I think the first time, after you go through that phase where you want to be a policeman or an astronaut or a fireman or whatever, right? When you're like 3 or 4, whatever. I think the first time I really contemplated like wanting to do something, I wanted to be a comic artist. And I worked really hard on my art when I was younger, but those skills kind of fell by the wayside. And I got kind of sidetracked sort of after high school by wanting to do movies. And that led to some, some disappointment and some victories. But about, I don't know, 16, 17 years ago, I saw a presentation by a local publisher here called Terminus Media about how you could make a comic. It was now feasible to print and do everything and make your own comic. You didn't have to submit to a publisher.
Terminus is doing Dominion.
Yeah, exactly. Right. They're still around. Yep. I'm so happy for them. And they had a presentation where now it's possible to self-publish. It was easier than ever to do this. There were a lot of print options. Yeah, like I said, you didn't have to go through a major publisher. You didn't have to pitch or whatever. You could just do it yourself. And I said, I'm going to do that. And that's and like I said, I'd had some work with some other smaller companies, comic companies as well, because I just love it. It's called America's art form, right? The comic strip, and comics and jazz, I think, are the two maybe two best American products of all time, right? And I just love the medium. I have many, many comics. It is impossible for me to go into a local comic shop and walk out empty-handed. I just can't. I read comics all the time. I have so much respect for the people that create them, and especially the people that create them well. And I just want to be part of it too. I want to see what I can bring to it. And I'm trying to bring out comics that I don't see on the stands already. Like, I love superhero comics. I really do. I love DC and Marvel. I read those, and I love superheroes. But I have no interest in writing and telling a superhero story for New Legend because there are already like tons of them out there.
Yeah, overloaded.
Yeah, and so I wanted to concentrate on doing something that I don't see on the stands, and I dare say you won't see anything like Tiki Zombie on the stands.
I haven't, for certain. I'm seeing resurgence in 2 other genres, the Western and the werewolf.
Western and the werewolf, yep. Mm-hmm.
And now that I've said that, I really want to see a gun-toting lycanthrope. Because I put the 2 words in the same sentence, and I'm like, hey, You know how the mashup thing works. You've made a career off of it here.
I just saying, like, okay, mental note, like, okay, so for the next issue, no, I do have the second issue does feature. I'm sorry, the third issue, sorry, does feature pirate werewolves.
Oh,
yeah. So
yeah, I saw. I didn't see. I actually read the book. It came out because we review books and movies and everything, so we get sent stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And this was years ago, and I thought it was very clever, and then it didn't turn into the series that I thought it would. But Scholastic put out a book called Vampirates.
Yes, I read that. Mm-hmm.
I thought, why hasn't anybody ever thought of that before?
I don't understand why that isn't been a movie or a Netflix series by now.
Yeah, it's just the word alone, just trademark the word and run to town with it.
Exactly.
So filled with opportunity. Do you remember your first comics when you got into being into comics as a fan?
Wow. I know I was reading comics before this, but the earliest memory I can think of where I was actually excited, like genuinely like super excited about a comic, was I was going on a plane ride for, I think it was like my first time or something. I was on a plane, and this is when American Airlines or whoever it was, I think it was actually, it was American Airlines. They gave out comics to kids. They had these comics that were printed up, and they handed them to kids. And so I got this comic by Harvey Comics, and it featured a crossover story, a meeting of Casper and Richie Rich.
Those were my favorite.
Which I had never seen the two of them together. I had read Richie Rich comics. I was familiar with Richie Rich comics. I was familiar with Casper's comics, but I had never seen the two of them in a story together. And it blew my mind. It really did. It blew my mind. And I don't know. I sort of loved crossovers and mashups ever since, I think.
Yeah. And Richie was always like, we're in danger. Oh, Casper's here. I'm not worried now. This is a dream.
Exactly.
He's going to walk off the plane here in a minute because he thinks there's nothing wrong.
But I'm just as inspired by those Harvey comics, those Disney comics, those Gold Key comics that had multiple stories in them that you could read over and over and over again. Archie comics as well. I just love that stuff. But I also, I'm a DC fanboy first and foremost, I think. I have tons and tons of issues of Batman and Justice League and all that. I'm a big Spider-Man fan. I grew up on Spider-Man as well, so I got tons of those that I love. And I've tried just about almost everything over the years. Like I said, almost about as long as you, 50 years or so. Yeah. And I got to say, I was at Dragon Con this past weekend, going and walking around some of my fellow neighbors in Artist Alley, and there's books that have been around for 3, 4, 5 years. No idea. And I was just like, look at how exciting these are. Like, these are people doing the thing that they love. And I'm a big fan of that.
Well, that's one of the reasons I'm so happy that crowdfunding is a thing now, because it's provided a way beyond the convention. Because, if you're an indie publisher and you're a small indie publisher, you're limited to what conventions you can get to.
Yep.
Because there's probably no way in the world that Diamond's going to put you in the catalog.
Yep.
And if they do, they'll knock you out with the second issue.
Yeah,
it's happened.
The odds are not in your favor. Let's put it that way.
Exactly.
And I get it. I get it. You were small potatoes. We're small potato chips. I understand why more local comic shops don't take chances on independent books, because it's just not economically feasible to do that. So it's hard. It's very hard to know what people are going to like and what people are going to buy. So. But you're right. Kickstarter has allowed a lot of us who have these passionate books that we want to put out, these passionate projects, a venue to do so and to reach directly to the reader.
And, that's the ultimate customer. Really. I know a lot of creators say, well, my customer is the comic shop, because that's the direct market paradigm. That's
yes.
Once the shop's bought it, you can't return it. I've made my money.
Right.
But going straight to the reader, that's the true measure of how popular your book is. If you sell 100 books and Marvel sells 100 books and 90 of Marvel's books are still sitting in the LCS waiting for somebody to pick them up, yours is going to win the race. It's just the way it is.
It is, absolutely. So I get that. So yeah, and like you said, I can only do regional shows. I can't, especially over the last year and a half or so. I can't. My limited options are limited as far as traveling. I mean, I've been to San Diego a few times. I've been in the small press area in San Diego. I've done San Diego. I've done C2E2 in Chicago. I've done the Boston Comic Con right before it became the Fan Expo. I've done New York Comic Con a few times. So I've tried them out, but they are huge money losses, really. So
yeah, I was going to say you can't justify the expense with what you probably end up selling.
No. Unfortunately, I can't. So, Kickstarter allows me to be able to do the books. I'm really excited, not only for Tiki Zombie here in the 10-year Tiki-versary, but with this model, I really planned, you'll see more books from New Legend from here on out, because I do plan on putting out a lot more books more often.
Awesome. Well, Mike, thank you for bringing Tiki Zombie to our channel and showing it to our guests here. I wrote down 1647 earlier because I'm like, I know the Kickstarter updates automatically. And I don't get to keep track of what happens. And it still is 1647, which disappoints me because it means I did not help you tonight.
Not in the short term, but I know that this is going to be out there, so I appreciate any support that I get. It
will be out there immediately because as soon as we're done, it's replayable.
Every little bit helps, and I like I said, I really appreciate it.
Well, 9 days left to go on this Kickstarter, folks. The link is at the top of the chat, locked in place there. If you're not seeing the chat on the replay, it is right below this video. Just click on the link, go to Kickstarter. 9 days left, which means, Mike, you got 9 days to get them prints out there for add-on possibilities.
Yep. That's on my to-do list tomorrow.
Okay, because we'll be looking for that. The good news is that you are over goal.
Yes, it will happen. This book is going to happen. So if anybody's looking at this going, I don't know if this is really going to, no, this book is going to happen.
Yeah, it's done, which means you've got to make it now, even though it's just right at goal. I hope that was exactly what you needed to get it done, and not like, I'm going to undercut it because it'll shoot. I've seen people say, I'm going to set a $500 goal because then it'll hit 5,000 for sure, which is what we really need.
That's who wants to take a chance on that? Look, I could always I will say that the way the process works now, not to get too into the weeds or whatever, but right now the only one who doesn't get paid on all my books is me. And if we make enough money, then maybe I will get paid a little bit. So as much money as we can and as many orders as you guys want to provide for us out there, as many pledges, I will fulfill happily.
Now, have you ever considered a retailer tier where people can buy multiple copies if they, verify, of course, that they're a store?
I have been talking to a couple of people about that, and we think we might be able to add that on this week as well.
Okay, because I'm seeing more and more retailers doing that, setting independent and crowdfunded books up in the stores, particularly mine, who first of all has a boutique store where he specializes in indie books and he likes to get the Kickstarter, and second of all, he's a huge Tiki fan. So I'm like, Dave, if you're going to buy these, you had to put some of them on the shelf. You can't keep them all for yourself. But all right, thank you so much, Mike. Everyone in the chat, we appreciate you being here as well. And we don't have a show without you, so we're so glad you showed up. With that, we're going to say goodbye, and we will see you tomorrow. I will not be interviewing tomorrow on the channel. We are going to hand the mic over to Marmalade. Marmalade, the orange fuzzy monster whom everybody seems to love, as an interviewer on the channel now. And he is going to be talking to Comic Perch about Arby's and why it is that Perch knows so much about comic books. So With that, we just hope you had a blast, guys. Good night.
Good night. Thank you.